last time we spoke was Monday, and now Friday we've had some really quality practices. So how we did it was Monday and Tuesday, we kind of did a 2-day block of some pretty physical practices on those first 2 days of the week. Wednesday was an off day. We had, another pretty physical taxing practice on Thursday. Today was a little bit lighter, more situational work. And then tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to scrimmage where we can really find out kind of where people are at. I think one thing that is always, challenging, especially for players and coaches for that matter, that we have to be mindful of, the first scrimmage really gives us an idea of a barometer of where everybody's at. It's not that they're a finished product at that time. And so I want to get a gauge for where we're at, whether you're a returning player, whether you're a true freshman, on offense, on defense, on special teams. Where is there, if errors are occurring, where are they occurring? And maybe it's a schematical thing. And so there's a lot of information we can get from the first scrimmage tomorrow so that it gives us an idea of things we need to work on going into next week to get the players prepared to scrimmage in the second scrimmage. The second scrimmage then really starts diving into setting a depth chart with 2 weeks to go to get ready for that first game. And so we've gathered a lot of information. But like I said, coming out of tomorrow, hopefully we find out a little bit more of just kind of where we're at now in all three phases and from a team mentality as we go.
How many plays or hours?
Yeah, these scrimmages are always unique. We'll probably finish up right around 125, 130 on offense and defense combined. And so when you look at it, it's roughly 60 or so plays per side of the ball. And so it should feel, when the guys are done, like game-ish, right? I mean, depending on the game. And then obviously we'll work all of our phases of special teams in there as well. But more guys will be playing tomorrow too. Everybody will get an opportunity to get in there, whether it's ones, twos, or threes, what that looks like. And then it'll be a lot of fun tomorrow too. Tomorrow, the parents get to come to the scrimmage and see their kids play. Their families can come, and then we have a big barbecue after. So I think on that front, giving everybody an opportunity, one is cool because they get to perform in front of their family, but two, it lightens the load on some guys. The guys aren't having to play the entire time. So the whole team's going to get in there tomorrow and compete.
Will you go in the morning or go to afternoons to kind of simulate the right?
No, we'll go in the morning tomorrow. I think we're going around 9:45, something like that tomorrow morning. So we should wrap up close to noon. And then we'll have that barbecue and we'll do it kind of similar next week. And then when we have our mock game 2 weeks from now, that will be at a 2:30 kick.
Any simulated quarters with the clock running and refs and all that?
We'll have refs there for all the situations that we do. So a lot of how we kind of do our scrimmages like that, the format is the first half is we just play football, right? And so it's not so much quarters, but it is game simulated, first down, second down, third down, whatever's happening, we play it out. And then we like to do a 2-minute drill there and have a halftime. And then we get into some of the more competitive situations that we need to work at, whether it's third down, fourth down competition, whether it's a backed up situation where the ball on the one, we practice that scenario. We'll practice a goal line scenario, and then we'll work and we'll have a red zone competition at the end with, like I said, with our special team segments kind of intermixed as we go. So essentially we'll encompass what an entirety of a game would look like. But we do kind of break it up. That first portion is definitely, we just play ball.
You also a week or so out from Rice Prep.
Yeah, I mean, from a staff perspective, we've done a lot of work on that game already and feel pretty good about it. From a player's perspective, we won't get into that. We have time. I always fight that. You start giving them information too early, then it becomes redundant, and then they start missing those nuances. And so we're really focused on what we need to do right now. And there's some things that we'll use in those first few games that we're practicing now, but the players don't know it yet, right? The players don't know yet. So that's all part of the process.
I know you talked a lot about your veteran interior guys' camp.
Yeah.
That group of like Aaron Bryant and Xavier Mitchell, Jack Solis, and those younger guys. What do you want to see from those guys? And what have you seen?
Yeah, I think that, I've seen a lot of growth in all those guys. I think Aaron Bryant, really early on in camp especially, has made, tremendous strides. A guy I've been really impressed with has been Jere Bledsoe. He continues to show up, continues to make plays. Zach was fighting a little bit of this kind of sickness bug. He's just kind of a little under the weather, so he's kind of back in the fold now. Sadir, the last couple of days, I've seen some improvement. For all of those guys, it's about consistency, right? The flash plays are great, but can we count on you to be in the right gap down after down after down? Can we count on you in the run game and in the pass game, and what does that look like? And so we're constantly trying to find and gather information on the things they do well right now, so that when that first game rolls around and they go in, PK and Bo are very comfortable with what they call if and or when those guys are in the game, to put them in the best position to have some success. So if it's a static front, it's a static front. If it's moving, it's moving. If it's putting a guy in a position to worry about one gap, then it's one gap. If they're better when he can two gap and limit some of that. So all those things we try to add up to get information to get ready for early in the season on those types of guys.
Coach, it's poll season. In your career, have you ever used polls for motivation or anything with any of your teams?
Not really. I use it both ways, like I have this year. I can, like I said, I can put up a slide in a team meeting, and I can have 5 articles with headlines of how great we're supposed to be this fall. And then right next to it, I can have a headline of 5 articles of, we're going to stink and we're Texas and they're going to blow it again. So I can do both. And that's kind of what I do, because it really doesn't matter, right? That's what what I'm trying to get across to the players. What other people think of us really is irrelevant. What we do on the field on Saturdays is what ultimately matters, and the way we play. And so that's the point I try to get across to. I'm always fascinated by preseason polls, that guys can predict how good a team's going to be, but yet never see him practice and never see him play yet. Now, I get after the first few games, we start to get an idea, but preseason polls are interesting. But I will say this. I love preseason polls as a fan of college football, because it gives us as fans of the game something to talk about, something to read about, something to write about. That's the beauty of it, man. I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait for the Sports Illustrated article, right, with their preseason number 1 on the cover and the top 25, and reading about every team. And so the preseason polls are synonymous with college football, and I love that side of it. But I also know being in the fire right now, it really doesn't matter, right? What we do ultimately is what matters.
Ethan Burke seems like he's a guy that's kind of coming on. I'm curious, what's different about him this year, and maybe what more do you still want to see from him over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think there's a few things about Ethan that stand out. One, his length is a factor. He's got tremendous length and size. I think that he's got a really high football IQ, and he's a blue collar guy. There's nothing about him that is sexy. He is a grinder. He's blue collar. He's going to try to out grit you. He's going to try to out tough you, which as a coach, that's what we try to embody as a team. And he's taken this opportunity and working with it. I think year 2 has been helpful too, right? He's been in the program. He understands. He's been in the system. He hasn't had to change positions. There's a comfort level there. But he's had a good camp.
But you got a recruiting philosophy question, no one specific. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to hold on to a guy when they commit before December as a staff, as opposed to chasing someone? And like what entails that?
Well, I think, naturally, I always joke, when they commit to you, you have to recruit them harder. Because when a young man is down to 3, 4, 5 schools, everybody's recruiting the kid, and they're not really sure who they're recruiting against, right? Because everybody's jockeying for a position. The moment the young man commits to you, now the target's on you. All those other 3 schools, now they know who they're recruiting against. And so you have to understand kind of and get ahead of what are the, I hate to say it, people negative recruit. We try not to. I don't, and I make that very clear with the kids that we recruit. I talk about our program, not other schools. But inevitably, people are going to negative recruit. And so what are they going to say? And then you try to get in front of it. And oddly enough, the kids kind of chuckle. They'll call me and say, hey, Coach, Joe from X University said exactly what you said. And he laughed. What am I trying to do there? I'm trying to forge a relationship with these guys that they can trust me. And that's how you do it. We just try to keep pouring into the relationship. We try to keep developing trust to where they feel like, this is their home. That's my coach. I can count on him. I can trust him. And so that's kind of the approach we take.
So no coach is calling to congratulate you if you have a good.
Not really. No. No, not really. It's never over till the ink is dry, as they say.
Would you say this is a more physical or less physical training camp because of the heat?
It's probably been a little bit more physical than we've had historically. I think the depth has helped us. Where, I've the last couple of years, there's been times I've been so concerned, and I don't want to get anybody hurt, because if something happens to this guy behind him, it's scary, right? Right now, I feel we've got a really quality depth on our team, and we're going 1s, 2s, and 3s, and sometimes the 3 might be a better player athletically than the 1. But the 1's knowledge base is so strong, but the drop-off isn't as significant. So in turn, what's happened is we've been physical. We've had a few more live periods than we probably normally would have. But what's unique is, oddly enough, we've had less injuries. So knock on wood, it's been really positive. So I think it has been a little bit more physical that way. And it's been competitive, but also I think everybody's playing at a higher level because they know the depth is there. On that note, Xavier Worthy is the one guy right now that is down for us. He got a sprained shoulder, so I think he'll be down here for a couple weeks.
Xavier talked at Big 12 Media Days about kind of needing a reset after the season and how, meditation kind of helped in the summer. I'm kind of wondering from your perspective, did you feel that he got in his head last year, and how have you seen him kind of clear it this summer?
Well, I talked about this, I think, throughout the season last year too, and even at the end of the year. I think we all know Xavier's a heck of a football player. But what sometimes gets missed is how hard he works. He is the first guy at every practice. He's the first guy at every walkthrough. He stays after every practice. He stays after every walkthrough. He is, one of, 1, 2, or 3 smartest guys on our offense. I mean, this guy we put a lot of burden on him to make plays because of maybe lack of depth at that position early on in his career. And when all of a sudden when you're just playing and it's going great, life is good. The moment you realize the burden on you, then you can press. And that's in any sport, right? That's why we all like watching the Masters, right? Watching 16, 17, and 18. All of a sudden, you're playing a great round, and wait, now I really need to make this putt. Now I really need to hit this drive, or the free throw at the end of the game. When you assume the burden, then how do you perform? And I think that's where some of the mental work that he's done will be very helpful for him. And when you assume the burden, sometimes you lose the joy in what we get to do. Football is a game, and we want to enjoy it. We want to have fun doing it. And that's probably the biggest thing I see out of him right now. The work ethic is still there, but I think he is really enjoying what he gets to do and being in our building and being around his teammates and playing the game of football. And I think he enjoys having some real weapons around him too, that is opening some of the field up for him.
Coach, from a physical perspective, your team is obviously physically impressive. We've heard guys talk about changing their diets in the off season. What have you, Tory Beckton, kind of worked on with some of these guys? What's been kind of the point of emphasis to get them where they are now?
Well, I think one, everybody's different, right? We got some guys that are trying to lose weight. We got some guys that are trying to gain weight. We got some guys that are trying to lose body fat. We got some guys that we actually want a little more body fat on, and it's not, in my opinion, very healthy to be like 4% body fat, right? That's, you're opening yourself up to soft tissue things. So everybody's different. I mean, I wish I was 4% body fat. Clearly I'm not, but point being, everybody's different. And when they realize that we have all of these resources at our disposal, we're trying to do everything in our power to put them in the best position to be successful. And if they will follow our lead, they will see change. Naturally, what happens with players, especially in the locker room, when one guy sees change in another guy that kind of looks like him, how did you do that? What did you do? And they start to follow suit. So it's been a little bit of a cycle of guys that have bought in to another level, whether it's been eating, their eating habits, whether it's been their recovery habits. It's when Jay Witt all of a sudden is the first guy in the building every day, and you tell a DeAndre Moore, I want you to try to emulate what Jordan Whittington does. Guess who starts coming in earlier in the morning, right? DeAndre Moore. So those types of examples, right, make sense. And then all of a sudden now you're getting into the mindfulness stuff and working with sports psychologists and getting yourself mentally in the right frame of mind. And all of a sudden when Xavier Worthy or a JT Sanders or a Quinn Ewers take that really important, well, if I'm a younger player and I want to play really good, maybe I'm supposed to go do that. So I think that cycle has started for us. I think it started this off season, but it's continued to build in training camp as well.
Brian Watts talked the other day just about how tough AD has been to guard.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned what mental health is. How has AD done just to be a standout this preseason?
Yeah, I've been proud of AD because I've seen a different AD Mitchell today than I saw in spring ball. Naturally, he came into spring ball off of the national championship. There was probably a little fatigue. Right? That was a long season for them. He had the ankle thing from last season that kind of lingered. But I really saw the shift about middle of summer, where he made a conscious effort to make the change, right? And how he wanted to play and then what we were asking of him. And from about, mid-early July, there's been a shift in him that he's been carrying through here in training camp. He's really part of our team now. Sometimes that transfer, when they come, how do you fit? Where do you fit in? 2, understanding the system. And then 3, playing with a real sense of confidence. And I think that we see it. And he's been a dynamic playmaker for us here early in camp, to a point of like, when he doesn't make these spectacular plays, it's almost like, dang, what happened? Why didn't he make that play? And he feels that way too. He's got a real confidence in his ability to make big time plays.
Your reviews of practice have seemed largely positive. You open things up about them. Do you feel like you guys are ready to be heading into the scrimmage tomorrow?
For tomorrow, yeah, sure. We're not by any means a finished product. We got plenty of work to do. And, every day we come in as a staff and, okay, where do we need to improve? What do we need to work on? For example, 2 nights ago, we had a walkthrough on some special situations, one of which was 4th down, one of which was sudden change. And then we went out and practiced it yesterday. And one of the keys in sudden change was trick plays, gadgets. Well, the offense ran 2 trick plays in sudden change, hits both of them. So clearly we didn't coach it well enough defensively. We talked about 4th and 5 or less hard counts. We did 5 hard counts. The defense jumped twice. We're not a finished product, right? So there's things for us to work on. We came out today for a situational work in practice. We had 3 false starts on the offensive line. So, as much as I talk about the work we're putting in and that it is positive, we're still, whatever it is, 8 days into training camp practice-wise, and we get 25 of these things before the first game. So we're not a finished product. We got things to work on, but that's also why we're in training camp, and that's why we try to emphasize specific things on a daily basis to try to improve upon, so that holistically as a team, right, we feel very comfortable and we don't feel like, man, if this happens, we're in trouble because we don't do this well. And so we're trying to not be a one-dimensional team. And be very versatile. And to do that, we have to practice all of these things and emphasize things to get them fixed.
Last one right here, Jeff. Sark. you talked about this team, how I'm focused and going back to the top of the polls. Have you seen them have the maturity to be able to handle all that? Do you feel like this is a group that's matured enough, throughout the season, whether it's CFP rankings or whatever, probably enough to be able to process it the right way and not lose a focus?
You know what's funny? I don't even know what day it was. Whatever the day it was that the coaches poll came out, because not one person in our building even talked about it. I didn't even know, right? It actually got sent to me via text, and click on it on Twitter to see. It was a whole day later that I actually opened it. I didn't hear one player talking about it. I didn't hear one player say, I can't believe we're ranked this, or why we ranked that, or I can't believe this team is ranked this. So that gives me some confidence that we're really, like, the credit I give our staff, and I'm not saying just the coaches, but whether it's with John and his team or our strength staff, our training room staff, when we're at the tank, our players, we're focused on what we need to do. And I think that in and of itself is a positive. Now, I'm not naive to think that our guys aren't on social media and don't see that type of stuff, but it's not at the forefront of a topic in a conversation, right? I don't walk into a team meeting and they're buzzing about a ranking, right? They're playing music and having fun together, and that's what I love. So I am confident with that. I'm sure there's going to be moments where we'll have to address some of those things, but right now I don't feel the need to address it, but maybe as we get closer we'll have to.